All right. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Kodash Rekor, Kodash Rekor, Wa, Akim, Barakatah, Wa, Barakatah, Barakatah, Elohim, the water Elohim, the water Elohim, the water Alahayot, the water Aleph, the water Aleph, the water Aleph, the water Aleph, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, shine Yahweh, Yad Hey Vat Hey, shine unto Yahweh, Yad Hey Vat Hey. That's Phoenician Hebrew, which is the left, and Aleph, the let, shine, Wav, Wav, Vav, and but this is this lesson is on what? This is based on Deuteronomy 23:7 about Abhor and the Edomite. About Abhor means to dislike, hate, despise. So Abhor and the Edomite, which is the so-called white race today, who refer to themselves as European or Caucasians. They are the descendants of the biblical Edomites, Idawamites, Adawan, Adalet, Adawav, Adalet, Wav, Adalet, Vav, Ashawa, Adawam, which was the children of the rejected covenant, the so-called white race, the Edomites, and this Deuteronomy 23:7, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. Right, so abhor means to hate. In the Edomite, this is the blue letter Bible, which is say Edomite, which is Edomite is a so-called white man, and it say don't abhor them. But God said He hated Edom, which is Romans 9:13. Romans 9 verse 13. Romans 9 and 13. Romans 9 verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau has I hated. Where is it written that in Malachi? That's where Paul was quoting the scriptures from, so-called from the Old Testament, so-called Old Testament, which is connected with the so-called New Testament, which is one. It's one scriptures. And right, that's Malachi, the first chapter. Malachi, as it is written, Malachi 1 and 2. I have loved you, said the Lord. Yet Yah says, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau's Jacob brother? It said Yahweh. Yet I loved Jacob and I hated Esau. And I hated Esau. He made Jacob, he cared with the law, statutes, and commandments, but he hated Esau to make him low down, the vilest race, the opposite of Jacob. Esau, he hated, which means he made him low down. All because the Lord said he angry every day with the wicked. He angry with every day with the wicked. So his anger, his hatred, his angry hatred, not envious hatred, but anger hatred, and made him low down because of the vileness that he is, and because of his wickedness throughout the world, the Lord got angry. But he don't love he not envious at the so-called white race, the Most High God. He hated Esau because he was different, which is the vilest race upon the face of the earth, and all the wickedness that he did upon the children of Jacob. And that's what Esau is. So Deuteronomy 23:7, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. Right, and that Edomite is saying Edomite, but the descendants from this is the definition of Edomite in Deuteronomy 23:7, of or fully Idawami from Edom, and Edomite or descendants from inhabitants of Edom. But it say what? Critical error critical era for Syrian. That's what R we see R we scribal, right? A critical era for Edomite and Edomite and then migrating Syrian. So this is it was a what a era, which was mean is Rome, because the blue let it go off in certain phases because words. And it's a critical era for Edomites as the migrant Syrian. So this saying thou shalt not bore a Syrian. And who is the so-called Assyrian? And then the Lord said, what? For he is thy brother. So the so-called white race is not our brother. Thou shalt not bore an Edomite, because for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not bore an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. And it's talking about the northern southern kingdom should not hate each other, because the Syrians, which is Syria, is Assyrians, which is Isaiah 7, Isaiah 17, Isaiah 7, verse 17. Yahweh shall break, and that's Deuteronomy 23 is talking about the southern northern kingdom being the southern and northern kingdom being contrary to each other, being broken apart, the kingdom of Israel. And that's what it's talking about in Deuteronomy 7. It's saying that that was a critical era for Syria. And who was the Syrian? Spiritual Assyrians. This this is let me go to Isaiah. It's Isaiah 19. Isaiah 19 and 23. In that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria. Right, they gonna have a connection, a way. The highway is talking about the connection to Egypt and Syria, which is spiritually talking about the so-called African American tribe of Judah, which was a split during 2 Kings 11 and 28, from Solomon sinning against the Lord God, being the descendants of David, who sit upon the throne. The Lord shall not suffer thee to sit upon the throne from ever and ever. He made an everlasting covenant for David to rule in Israel, and Solomon was his son, the next ruler, the heir of his throne. But he sinned against the Most High God, which kept 10 tribes to Ephraim and 3 tribes, which is Judah, Benjamin, Levi, the so-called African American, Haitian, Jamaicans, and the Northern Kingdom, starting with the so-called Puerto Rican, Dominicans, and Mexicans, which was a split. So they're gonna be connected back to each other. Lord said he broke the bands of he broke the bands of Ephraim and Judah. But the Lord said Ephraim shall not vex Judah, and Judah shall not envy Ephraim. And the Assyrians shall come into Egypt, right? And the Assyrians shall come into Egypt, meaning their land. They're gonna come back. They're gonna come back to their nationality of their understanding of their land. And the Egyptians into Assyria, right? They're gonna be back one with each other. And the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians, right? This was the captivity of the northern southern kingdom. That's America. America was spiritual Egypt and spiritual Egypt and Assyria. In that day shall Israel be a third with Egypt, right? In that day shall Israel be a third with Egypt, and that's the nation of Israel. We're gonna be 1/3 of the children of Jacob, of the descendants of from captivity, from the Egyptian captivity, which is in America, according to Deuteronomy 28 and 68, and shall serve with the Assyrians, In that day shall Israel be a third with Egypt, and with Assyria even a blessing in the land in the midst of the land, right? So they're gonna be connected back to each other, blessing, because the Lord said He's gonna deliver the northern southern kingdom, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the house of David. So they connected back to each other. And Assyrian, even a blessing in the midst of the land, whom the Yahweh of hosts shall bless, saying, blessed be Egypt, my people, and Israel the work, and Assyria the work of my hands, and Israel my inheritance. So the Lord's connecting the southern northern kingdom back to each other from the split, which is Isaiah 17, 7 and 17. Yahweh shall bring upon thee and upon thy people and upon thy father's house days that have not come, from the day that Ephraim In the day that Ephraim that have not come, from the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, even the king of Assyria. So they departed from each other because the 10th part of the city fell. They went amongst the Syrians. They came to a land which never mankind dwelt. There that they could keep their statutes, law, statutes, commandments that the Most High commanded upon Israel, the greatest nation upon the face of the earth. But the Lord said, "Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite." So this Edomite is a clerical error for Syrian, which is the reverence to the northern kingdom's captivity under the Assyrian Empire, which is Tiglath-Pileser and Shurgan, which was Ishmaelites that ruled over Israel, but they didn't rule over Hezekiah because the Most High delivered Hezekiah. I mean, he Hezekiah, he delivered Hezekiah, the king of Judah, which was descendant of David's sons. So thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother, right? Critical error of Syria. So Judah should not abhor Assyrian, which is the so-called Puerto Rican, Haitians, and Jamaicans. That band that the Lord cut asunder, that he can, they banded together. The Lord broke that, but he said he put it through the spirit of them again, so that they can rise together from the lands of captivity, because the Lord said, "What? Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite." So that's talking about the so-called Haitians, Jamaicans, and African American Negroes. They should not hate a so-called Puerto Rican, Mexican, or Dominican, or Cuban, or or so-called Colombian, which is their brothers. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother, right? He the brother of Jacob, Israel, and Judah. The Lord said, "What? Judah and Israel." The Lord said, "What? Judah and Israel. The Lord said, He's gonna rise them from the lands of the north. The north, that they rejoice in the remembrance of their God, rejoicing in the remembrance of their God. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian," right? Said to the so-called northern kingdom, or the northern kingdom of Israel. Thou shalt not abhor a so-called African American, Haitian, and Jamaican. The Lord said, "Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart, because thou was a stranger in his land," right? How did Ephraim became a stranger in the land? Because that was still Jerusalem, and that was Judah land, Israel land, and ruled from Judah. So the Lord said, "What? Isaiah 7:17. The Lord shall bring upon thee and upon thy people and upon thy father's house days that have not come, from the day of that Ephraim departed from Judah, even the king of Assyria." Right. So they departed from Judah, even the king of Syria. That's where they departed from, to the ways of the Assyrians, which was heathens, the Syrian Empire that ruled over Israel after the Egyptian Empire. So the Lord said, "What? Because thou was a stranger in his land." So Ephraim became strangers because they joined themselves to strange people, the Syrians. The Lord said, "Did you know that Ephraim is joined unto Ramallah, which is an Egyptian. I mean, with Shalaki, which is an Assyrian, and that's right." So the Lord said, "What? And it was told the house of David, saying, Syria is confederate with Ephraim, and his heart was moved, and the heart of his people as the trees of the wood are moved with the wind." So this Isaiah 7:7-2, and it was told the house of David, which is the so-called African Americans, Jamaicans, and Levites, Syria is confederate with Ephraim, right? Syria is confederate with Ephraim, which is the Syrians, which confederate with the northern kingdom, their brothers, the so-called Puerto Ricans, is Ephraim, a far right, a left Reshem, and the Phoenician, but in Paleo, a far Rayim, which is fruitful. And his heart was so-called Puerto Rican, being the descendants, because they got a lot of descendants of them, Puerto Ricans, and his heart was moved, and his heart is his people. So the Syrian was confederate with Ephraim, so he departed from Israel, became a stranger because they was connected with the Assyrians against Jacob. "Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother," right? So Edomite, thou, Judas, Benjamin, Levi, shall not hate their brothers, the so-called Puerto Ricans, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian. Right, so the Syrians, so-called Puerto Rican, Latinos should not abhor a so-called African American, Haitian, and Jamaican that's keeping God's laws, because thou was a stranger in his land. Right, he became stranger, and Judah was still keeping the commandments under Hezekiah, but the Babylonian Empire was next after the Syrians, because Judah began to worship Molech and going off into idolatry, according to the which is they going into idolatry, which is Isaiah. They went into idolatry. They went into idolatry. The Lord said what? That's Ezekiel 16 and 44. So the Lord right. So this back in Deuteronomy 23. Deuteronomy 23 and 7. Deuteronomy 23 and verse 7. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. An Edomite is so-called Assyrian. That's a critical error. It's a critical error for Edom, which is the definition of Edom, a critical error for Assyrian. In the Assyrian Empire, the Lord described Israel as the northern kingdom as the so-called Assyrians, because they was in slavery under them, and Judah, the so-called Egyptians, which because they was the darker Judites in the Egyptian captivity, which is represent bondage. So thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, Assyrian, for he is thy brother. He brothers to Judah, because they got the same father. Jacob had 12 sons: Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Issachar, Zebulun, Naphtali, Asher, Gad, Ephraim, and Benjamin. Gad and Reuben, because thou was a stranger in his land. Right, he became strange from the customs of God. The Lord said in Hosea, this Hosea this Isaiah Hosea. The Lord said that Judah was still with the Most High, even though right, Ephraim compasseth me about. This Hosea 11 and 12. Ephraim compassed me about with lies, and the house of Israel with deceit. But Judah, Yahweh, Yad Hevate Delet, and Pure Pelio, Pure Phoenician Hebrew, Yahweh, yet ruled with God and is faithful with the saints. Right? Hezekiah was still ruling with the Most High. He took down all the groves, but Ephraim went off under Hosea, and they yet departed unto the new world. So he stuck to the commandments. That's why Jesus said the salvation is of the Jews, under your nationality, under the tribe of Judah. Is for you. The salvation for you is for you. Salvation is for you. But you keep God's commandments and the statutes and commandments, being a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And with that, Shalom. So basically, Deuteronomy 7 is saying, Deuteronomy 23 and 7. Deuteronomy 23 verse 7 is saying, thou shalt not abhor an Syrian, for he is thy brother. The so-called African Americans, Jamaicans, and Haitians shall not abhor the so-called Puerto Ricans, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian. The so-called Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Latinos, and Latin and Native American Indians shall not hate Judah, so-called African American Negroes, Haitians, and Jamaicans, because thou was a stranger in his land. Right? Because the Puerto Ricans became strange by being a part of the Arabs, which are the Syrians, descendants of the Ishmaelites, and they strange people, because the Lord said what? They are vile people, they strangers. And with that, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai Shalom.